Well, greetings everyone. This is our first PowerPoint lecture and it will be broken up into 10-minute intervals because this is interfacing with YouTube and every other method I've tried has not been effective with Canvas as the platform. So you'll need to, in order to get the content of this module and the video portion with myself and my PowerPoint slides, you'll need to watch segments, and they are here in Canvas in sequence. So I'm sorry it's not smoother, but that's the best we can do right now. I'm delighted with your work in the meet and greet, so thank you all for completing that. Those of you who have not yet, do be sure to post to Padlet. You can still do it. You will lose a few points, but it's very important that you get as many points as possible. The purpose of this module is to introduce you to foundational concepts to study and to understand art and culture through the lens of the humanities. And then in the following module, we'll be looking specifically at issues concerned with Asia and beginning our deep kind of look into a chronological history of Asian art and culture, and we'll be beginning in the Indus Valley civilization. But before we do that, we really do need to lay out very precisely some important concepts and terms. So I'm taking time in this module to do that. Now, it's important that I share my screen. So let me do that. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, there we are. Okay, so here you should be seeing a slide that says, what are the humanities? As I proceed through these slides, I've tried to illustrate as much as possible a wide range of art from India, China, Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia, for Indonesia, as an example. What are the humanities? They are the areas of thought and creation whose subject is human experience. Sounds simple, but to grasp what human experience was like outside of our own time requires a very delicate process of reconstruction and empathy, where we look at various sources, historical documents, works of art, critics, other cultures by comparison, a whole array of different approaches to understand human experience as it is expressed in the humanities. What you're looking at here is a painting from 1591, and it is coming out of the Chinese popular imagination during the Ming Dynasty, during a time of crisis. And here we have a figure that is understood to be a living Luhan, or a Buddhist holy man capable of producing miracles. This was often associated with begging hermits, begging monks, mysterious hermits, and other characters, conjurers in Chinese society. They were thought to actually be, in fact, these Buddhist holy men called Lohan. So we have here such a figure in a tree, beautifully stylized, and a figure beside him. And so in this class, we would reconstruct the context of this work of art to understand more deeply its meaning and human experience in China in the 16th century. Okay. So why are the humanities important? Well, they help us understand and record the world and their relationship with it, humans that is. And knowledge of these records of human experience give us the opportunity to feel and sense a connection to those who have come before us, as well as to our contemporaries. What you see here is coming from Western India in the 19th century, so fairly recent relative to the span in this class. And what we're looking at is a classic rugged terrain typical of this area of India, and a woman playing a traditional stringed instrument, charming a deer. And above is the Hindu god Krishna in his tower. So this is a work which is has a subtext that this woman whose beautiful music can charm a deer is likely going to charm the god Krishna in the tower. And we would, of course, if we were looking at this West Indian art, which we will be doing, we would go into much greater detail. The instrument she's playing, in fact, is called a sitar, and the deer is a type of musk deer, which you might have been wondering what sort of horns are those. So it's a specific kind of deer. The branches of the humanities are philosophy, literature, religion, art, music, history, and language. This is a Japanese painting which combines poetry and calligraphy, plum blossoms, and we could understand this in greater depth by studying the Buddhist faith as it manifests in Japan, the historical context, the language used in the particular Japanese language as it relates to poetry, and literature, possibly a little bit of philosophy to make sense of this picture, this image. We would use multiple branches of the humanities. What are the arts? Here they are: visual art, painting, for example, architecture, drama, music, literature, and film. And as I said a moment ago, these connect to branches of the humanities that don't sit directly under the category of the arts. Art can be durable, ephemeral, or temporal, and that is the purpose of the rest of this discussion, understanding what these terms mean. Durable art is art created with the intention of withstanding the test of time. All art is subject to deterioration over time, but we call art durable when it is created to endure over time. So it really matters not so much if the art lasts so much as its intention was to last. That's how we define durable art. Architecture is an example of durable art. Here we're looking at a pagoda in Japan, another architectural form we will spend time looking at, and in the background, Mount Fuji, off in the distance. Domestic architecture is architecture for a single or multiple dwellings for human habitation. So not a monument, not a temple, but for human living. And if you read the note here, it's this quite old and remarkable dwelling that has been in a Chinese family's generations for 23 generations. Ritual or religious architecture. Here we're looking at the Great Stupa of Sanchi in India. We will be looking closely at this architectural form, its dome structure, its particular entry gate, the way in which the body is guided to move around the stupa is all related to the Buddhist faith, which has its origins in India. And that is what we will be studying, not the next module, but the following module. So probably late next week, we'll be looking at this stupa. Military architecture. Here we're looking at the Great Wall of China. It's a fortification system, and that is military architecture across the northern border of China. The first portions of this wall were in 7th century BC. That means we're counting backwards now from 0 to 2020 is time which is calculated moving in an additive way. But we have, when we see that BCE, that means we're counting 0 in the opposite direction. So we add 700 years to 2020 years. And that will give us the earliest portions of the Wall of China. The first emperor of China unified it into a single wall instead of multiple walls. And here you have a view of that astounding and magnificent fortification. And commemorative architecture. Here we're looking at the Taj Mahal in India. It's a mausoleum. A mausoleum is a structure that contains a tomb or a very remains of a beloved figure or an important figure, and it is an enshrined. So we have this mausoleum to the favorite wife of the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan, known as the famous Taj Mahal. Mughal Emperor is part of the Mughal period in India. So we'll be looking at that period as well. It's a period of where Islam is dominant. So we'll be looking at the aesthetic forms of Islamic art through the lens of Mughal India. All right, so this ends the first segment of this series of lectures, and I'll see you back in just a moment as we begin to look at sculpture.